Welcome away, swoops around the outside. Joshua Germany putting up an almighty defence. Garrett Kaler taking his second win. Stephen King for Pulsar eSports makes it 3 for 3 at Oran Park. Andy Fox wins. Henry Morse makes it the double and takes another win here at Watkins Glen. Blake comes around the final corner and across the line. Jameson Hudson has done it. Championship rival Morgan Burkhardt wins again. And there we have it. Two-time Jetta Cup champion Jake Cranston. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for round 2 of the Volkswagen Jetta Cup, powered by GT Omega, here on the Racing Line YouTube and Twitch, and with our partners of course VCO eSports on YouTube and Twitch as well. I can see so many of you already viewing across all 4 channels. Don't forget, chat is active across all 4, so feel free wherever you are watching, whether it is with us on the Racing Line or with VCO eSports, to get in that chat and say hello. I can see Biggie Morello already says he's here, ready and waiting. Avavoom and Twitch says Jetta time, baby. ZFG, ZFG, ZFG. I'm your commentator for today, Jack Johns. Don't forget you got a GT Omega discount code there in the box on the bottom right, TRL, for 5% off all GT Omega products, as we are powered by GT Omega, and of course all our lovely photography over on the racingline.org, provided by VCO eSports, as well as some extra support from them. And you should be following all of this on Twitter as well, because Twitter has ramped up this season, that's for sure. We're here for round 2, the Brands Hatch Circuit. Speaking of Twitter, they liked our tweet earlier. They know that we're there. I mean, don't be shy, Brands. Come on, give us a little retweet after this race. I'm sure it's going to be a good one. After last week at Donington, we had a 2,000th of a second split between first and second. We're still in the UK. We're in the city of Kent. We've headed over to round 2. The track length is 3.89 kilometres. Temperatures looking at 18 degrees Celsius. Altitude 131 metres above sea level, I imagine that is. Of course, I mentioned the little journey over from Donington round 1. We can't get started without our little animation. So here is our little journey in the truck across the UK, past Leicester, Kettering, Wellingborough, Northampton, Bedford, Milton Keynes, down past Luton, and of course across London as well, around that M25 to Kent on the east side of London. There it is, just on the outside of the M25, and that is where we are, the big Forest Autodrome of Brands Hatch. Cackle has jumped in Twitch set, says good evening, Jack. No worries. Good evening to you, Cackler. Glad to see you. He is our... I'll tell you what, if you like our photos, he's the man you need to speak to, because he's absolutely... He's done bits. That's we're just going to call it that. He's done bits this season. You can see the timing... well, he's done bits all the seasons, actually. That made it sound like he hasn't before. He has. You can see the timing screen on your left-hand side. And that is showing our current order of affairs. Morgan Burkhardt, a familiar name there in the Project Dynamic car, leading the way in practice with 3 minutes left with a 1:39.0. That is an insane time. And to be fair, Koba and Cranston only 2 tenths off behind. It's looking fast out there. Austin Farr deserves a shout out there in P4 as well for Street Casuals Racing. Arthur Thurtle, after a penalty last time out, dropped from 2nd to 3rd in the last race, losing 5 points. In fact, speaking of points, let's have a quick rundown whilst there's a couple minutes left of practice. Oh, Kieran Dempsey's in chat. Hello, hello. Good luck tonight, lads. Always plenty of action at Brands. Kieran Dempsey, for those that don't know, who... Oh, Jake Cranston's missing his boot. He is a... Well, we miss him on the grid this season. Let's keep that short, because obviously we're running out of time in practice. Don't worry, Kieran. The grid does miss you. And I do think I'm not right in saying, actually, I was looking at the stats earlier. Kieran Dempsey is a 2-time season entry for the Jetta Cup. And I think his first win actually came in the RLTC. He hasn't yet won in the Volkswagen Jetta Cup, if I'm not mistaken. Just having a double check here. Can't find his name. Kieran Dempsey. He's in there somewhere. He would have had a podium, I imagine. Yeah, he's got 2 podiums to his name, but no wins. So I'm sure we'll see him return one day to claim that fateful win, as the Project Dynamic cars are fighting each other. Anyway, this is what the standings looks like after one round. So we had 2 races at Donington. Sebastian Hallmichael rounds off the field in 36th place. Jan Weiswanger with 6 points, just 2 points ahead of him. So those 2 teammates, the German teammates of Meatball Motorsport, are going to be fighting it out at the moment for 35th place. Corpus and Ray Oliver, 1 point separates them. 33rd and 34th, Patrick Dupart and Timu Toika there in 31st and 32nd. And Henry Morse about 5 points ahead with 19 points. All of them 3 actually. Henry, Timu, Patrick and Ray and David looking fast in practice last time out and just not having the race come together, and as a result ended up down in the bottom 6. Dan Thornton 21 points, Jesus Amundre, Andy Fox, Rod Askew, Carl Ridley, Dan Downing in 24th after a nightmare. Joint points with Greg Otley for Zero Forks Giving, Ika Lequay, Alejandro Caraday and Brandon Hughes, the top 20 on his debut, even on points with Alejandro Caraday. Should be happy with that, should Brandon Hughes there in 20th place. Eric Mannenfeld in 19th in the standings. As we scroll up, Andre Marek for Team ORD, 1 point behind Sam Van Os for Goldwing. Dan Blake ended up getting 45 points, the same as Donny Henriksen after being taken out in the second race. Duncan Murray 53 points after a strong showing in the sprint race, a P5 for Duncan Murray. Not the same for the feature race, unfortunately. Alexander van der Velde for Project Dynamic with 57 points. A jump up to the top 12 then for Jerry Agard with Master of Talk. Stephen Burns with Win It or Bin It with 68 points as well. Joint with Jerry. Arthur Thurtle with 74 points, as does Martin Wallace, as does Austin Farr, all on 74 points. 1 point ahead of them is Jameson Huffman after scoring a podium in the feature race last time out. Ade Kober makes his debut for the Volkswagen Jetta Cup with 76 points, 1 point ahead of Jameson Huffman. Joshua Germany and Morgan Burkhardt are joint 4th and 5th with 82 points. We're gonna have to do the old reload, otherwise this won't disappear. Jake Cranston 96 points, only 2 points behind Stephen King, and John Bailiff is your current season leader with 100 points, just 2 points ahead of Stephen King. Look how close that is. It is ridiculously close. There we go. That's why I was going to need to reload, because that is very much stuck on the screen. Oh, and that is the livery button as well. So now they're all going to be white for qualifying. Let's just do it this way. Not reloading. Why not? You're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, people watching. At least you can see the lovely Jettas going out and qualifying. So we've got 8 minutes of qualifying just before the timing screen comes back on. I mean, they're all going to do that outlap, and they're all going to be struggling to find space out on the circuit. Finding space is going to be so key here around any of the circuits, really, because we've got a couple of small tracks out there this season. Not quite today. Brands Hatch were doing the GP layout. Technical, Baboom says in chat. Technical gremlins always show up at the best times. Yeah, they do. Hughes paint is broken for Kakula. It is the same across the board, I think, Iku. There's something going on trading paints on his end. We can have a quick look just to prove it. Brandon Hughes in a bright white Jetta. The old glitch back up. He is in a ZFG car, which looks the same as the 2 cars in front. Martin Wallace there, you could see, and Greg Otley in the colourful machines. Ostat Bender 7 says, thanks Jack for this championship. Paradise Sport says, how do I get involved in this championship? You just got to keep an eye out, as there's already a crash in qualifying as people slide down turn 1. That's Sebastian Holmichael in the number 69 car, and Brandon Hughes off at turn 1 as well. Let's get that track map up. So how do you get involved in the championship? You just got to keep an eye out for that sign-up form. Unfortunately, season has closed. We've got the full drivers on the grid. 36 drivers the limit this season. We have upped it with 8. There's 10 rounds in total. In fact, I can quickly show you that while they're all setting times. We've got... so we've had Media Day at Alton Park. We then had round 1 with Burkhardt and Bailiff claiming those wins at Donington. for the sprint race and the feature race. We're at Brands Hatch today and then Zandvoort next week. We then go for a break before we head to the American leg of Lime Rock, Summit, Laguna Seca and Long Beach, and then one more break before we go to Twin Ring, Motegi, Okayama and Oran Park. I have not seen any lap times come up on the board yet, and I don't know if that is because everyone is 1xing their laps or if people just haven't made it round yet. I think a Dakoba would have been the first out the pits. Oh, it's not a Dakoba. I think it's Karaday that was first out the pits, actually. Yeah, he is, because there goes his time. Vanols goes to the top of the times with a 1:39.7. So the first laps are coming in nearly halfway through qualifying. So the out lap is a long old lap here, 1 minute 40. That is a long Jetta Cup lap for sure. And qualifying has started. Vanols is still top of those times. Austin Farr goes to the top of the times for Street Casuals, followed by Eric Mannenveld for Street Casuals there in P2, and Timu Toika for Pulsar eSports in P3. Vanols still P4 with Stephen King in P5. So all the lap times very much coming in now. Not really sure who to watch anymore because there's so many things going on. Let's pick a driver in this train and see who's going in. We're going to see more lap times coming in. I don't actually know if everyone's here on the grid. I haven't seen Rod Askew today, I don't think. So I think we've got 35 drivers on the grid today. No message from Rod to say that he couldn't make it, but we did know it was going to be up and down. He did let us know that he weren't going to make all races. As Arthur Thurtle for Project Dynamic goes to the top of the timesheets again. The debut driver for Project Dynamic. His first Volkswagen Jetta Cup season. We're into season 3 now, and it's definitely the strongest grid we've had. And don't get me wrong, it's been strong before, but this has been absolutely insane. I'm pretty sure the strength of field, when all 36 drivers is here, to have 36 drivers have a strength of field of over 3k, I think is pretty impressive. I'm sure it's around that. If not, it'll be around 2.7 to 2.9. There's a couple of drivers around the 1900 I-rated mark, but there are a lot between 3 and 5k. In fact, Ade Koba Lopez is probably dragging everybody up. Ade Koba, we're calling for short from now on. He is 8k plus, as you can see from his number plate. He's out there somewhere. Here he is. You'll see as he goes past. There it says 8k on the back of his car. 8k plus. I think all of the Team 12 cars. We can't see Rod's today. Rod's just says late on the back, I think. Oh, no, wait. Dan Blake says late on the back because he, he signed up after the sign-ups had closed, but he's been with us before. And what does Rod say? I think it just says part-timer because we knew he wasn't going to show up to some of the rounds. And there we go. That's why it says it, because he's not here today. We went through the championship points. We didn't show you the teams championship. So there are, if you haven't already noticed, out of those 36 drivers, 3 drivers per team, meaning 12 teams. And this is what your team's championship looks like after one round. Meatball Motorsport with 43 points in P12. Lurch's Gaming Team with 66. Team ORD in P10 with 73 points. Big jump up to Frog Leap Juiced Racing with 116 points. Just 5 points behind Goldwing Motorsport, who are 6 points behind Street Casuals Team. Zero Forks Given are in the top 6 with 136 points. Just 11 points behind Team 12 there in the top 5. And then we jump up to the top 4, and look how close that is. Winner Orbinate Racing and Pulsar eSports separated by 2 points, and they're not far behind Masters of Torque and Project Dynamic, who lead the way in the team's championship with 213 points, just 4 points ahead of Masters of Torque. It's looking very close, and the team's championship is going to be more interesting than ever, as Arthur Thurtle is still on pole position, but look who is in P2. It is your 2-time Jetta Cup champion, the number 1 car, of course. He's keeping that car. Season 2 champs, it says on the back. Masters of Torque taking the team's championship last time out as well. Your 2-time champion with the 39.4 is in P2 currently. Let's have a look at the gaps. We can see everyone's lap time, so it's 0.02 of a second between Jake and Arthur. And I'll tell you what, speaking of the team's championship, look who's in 3rd, 4th and 5th. That is Austin Farr, Henry Morse and Eric Mannenveld showing up to Brands Hatch qualifying in 3rd, 4th and 5th. They look like a force to be reckoned with today. I hope the race goes as smoothly as this qualifying session with 10 seconds left. Timu Toika is absolutely on display there as well. He's with them as they go around. John Bailiff jumps up into P8. Andy Fox jumps up into P20, and Stephen Burns jumps up into P27. So the Win It or Bin It boys all crossing the line with seconds to spare, improving their lap times. And that is qualifying over. Let's have a look at that grid. whilst we see everybody come through. So Arthur Thurtle takes pole position just ahead of Jake Cranston, last two seasons champion. Austin Farr, Henry Morse, Eric Mannenveld make it a Street Casuals 3-4-5 with Timu Toika, Morgan Burkhardt and John Bailiff rounding off your top 8. Sam Van Olst, Stephen King, Ade Koba and Daniel Downing rounding off your top 12. Behind them is Dan Blake, Joshua Germany, Ray Oliver, Donnie Henriksen, Duncan Murray, Jameson Huffman, Jesus Amundere and Andy Fox rounding off your top 20. Greg Otley, Jerry Agard, Andre Majorek and Patrick Dupart round off your top 24. Alexander Van der Velde, David Corpus, Stephen Burns, Ike Lequay, Martin Wallace, Alejandro Caraday round off your top 30, whilst Carl Ridley, Brandon Hughes, Jan Weiswanger, Dan Thornton and Sebastian Holmichael round off your 35 car grid at the back of the track. Let's have a look at what it looks like from the starter cam as we see the drivers start to ready up now. This is what your grid looks like. They're all going to go right round that bend. Joseph Gibson says, let's go ORD. We've got some original people coming up. Oh, geez. RLTC driver was Joseph Gibson. We've got pit stops showing up there. We don't want them. We can get rid of them. I was trying to change the colour of the number, but I'm not sure that's worked, to be honest. We'll find out in the feature race. For those of you that have just joined us for the first time, we got a sprint race followed by a short break and then a feature race. The feature race being nearly twice as long as this sprint. And there is a pit stop in that feature race, the all-important pit stop. People misjudge their fuel calculations. People misjudge their pit box. People speed in the pits. It really mixes things up having one pit stop. And it is time to go as the lights come on. We've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Arthur Thurtle on pole position. And away they go. No wheel spin for Jake Cranston. There was no puff of smoke. But has he got a better start than Arthur Thurtle as they all seem to have a nice clean getaway? Look how many cars there are. I'll tell you what, Brandon Hughes is sticking out in that bright white car at the back. But heading down towards turn 1. And Arthur Thurtle still does lead the way, but Jake Cranston is on the inside for Druid's hairpin. This is going to be very close. Arthur Thurtle, can he hold it around the outside? Jake Cranston challenging for the lead. Arthur Thurtle still on the inside though. Can he break later down the hill into the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend? He can. Oh, are they going to make contact on the exit? He's going to have to let Jake back on, and Austin Farr makes it 3 wide. He's on the grass, is Austin Farr. He lifts off, backs out of that and survives. That could have been nasty. Henry Morse goes round the outside of Austin and moves up into P3. Jake Cranston still on the outside of Arthur Thurtle. They're still side by side as they head down the back straight. On the grass goes Cranston. Morse is trying to find a way through. Austin Farr is still on the back. I haven't even seen what's going on behind all these. Timu Toika looks safe in P5. Burkhardt's there. Koba is there. Is that Stephen? No, it's Morgan Burkhardt. John Bailiff there in the Winnow Bennett car. That's who I saw. And look at them all come through. They're all surviving. I haven't seen one crash come up on the timing screen. And Arthur Thurtle now under pressure from Henry Morse through these fast right-handers at the back of the circuit. These are dangerous places to go side by side, but they're going to keep trying. Arthur Thurtle extremely tight through the right-hander, keeps that position in P2. Morgan Burkhardt is having a look at Timu Toika there. There's contact on the exit, but they don't get run off, and they live to fight another day. Ade Cobra is going to look to take advantage. Oh, the car's round. It's Ray Oliver and Jameson Huffman, the 2 down under boys. That's not their team name anymore. Frogleaf Juice Racing come to contact, and there's big crashes behind. That's what happens when you don't slow down for an incident. That is a lot of people involved in that sprint race crash that are going to be out of this race. You can see that. I don't even know where to start looking at that. Let's have a replay, shall we? It's already happened. It's not actually anything to do with Brandon. I'm not sure why it focused on him. Look at them all go. We need to have a look at Ray Oliver's crash with Jameson Huffman. It's all behind all sorts of areas. We've got Duncan Murray involved. Ray Oliver goes to the left. Jesus Amundere, Jerry Agard, Patrick Dupart. The other ORD car, that would be Dan Thornton, I guess. Stephen Burns does try slowing down. Kyle Ridley into the back of Martin Wallace there. Alexander Van der Velde looks like he's got a blown engine. Crazy amount of cars involved in that, and that is definitely going to hinder. The Meatball Boys tried slowing down as well. Well, that's what happens. I'm sure some people tried slowing down, and anyone that didn't try slowing down would have just ended up going into the back of the people that did. What a mess at the back of the grid here. But look at this. John Bailiff and Mannenfeld and Sam Van Olst all trying to fight their way through. Oh, and there's contact. It's a difficult corner to be side by side. The outside's risky. John Bailiff rejoins safely, doesn't take out any cars as he rejoins. Eric Mannenveld survives. Sam Van Os keeps his car in. Stephen King goes past Teemu Toika, his teammate in the Pulsar's car. John Bailiff is still in the race. Donnie Henriksen, though, is on the inside of John Bailiff as they head towards the final corner. Can he keep his nose there? He can't, as John swoops around the outside and gets the better run. And now he's going to have a look at Dan Downing towards turn 1. We've got Mannenveld defending from Sam Van Olst already as they head down towards turn 1. Can Sam Van Olst hold it around the outside? Is he going to get the switch back? I think he is. Look at this. He's practiced this move for sure. His nose is going to be there on the inside of Druids. Oh my God, here he goes. He's going to send it late on the brakes into Druids. There's no contact there. Stephen King's going to try and find his way through. I'm not sure who is going to come out on top of this. Mannenveld's still on the inside. Van Olst is going to hold it around the outside of this corner. It's tricky. Can he do it? He does. He leans on him as he turns into the corner. Now King's got to pick a driver to follow. He's going to pick Sam Van Olst. Sam Van Olst is going to move to the outside and he swoops into front. Into the front of Eric Mannenveld. He's gained that position. What a great move from Sam. That's twice in 2 rounds that we've seen Sam pull amazing overtakes. And look at that. Mannenveld holds the position. Toika and King actually blocking the track a little bit. But Daniel Downing, they've boxed him in. Daniel Downing is in the middle of a Pulsar sandwich. Where's Joshua Germany in all of this? I can't actually see him on the timing screen. He's in 16th. I found him. He is out there somewhere. But Dan Downing trying to hold him around the outside of King now. They're still going to be side by side into the next right-hander. John Bailiff has a quick look. I think Stephen King backs out of that. And Dan Downing gains the position as we go on to lap 3 of 8. Jake Cranston is still your leader, coming under pressure. This is what your lead fight looks like still. Jake Cranston is your leader. He's got Arthur Thurtle right behind him, Henry Morse and Austin Farr behind him, and Morgan Burkhardt there in P5. Ade Koba is closing in. Eric Mannenveld, though, being swamped by the rest of these drivers. So Sam Van Olst has got past. He's going down the order. He had a good quali, did Eric, in the slipstream of his teammates. But it's very close. I'll tell you what, Andy Fox is up 7 places. He's up into P13. Starting from 20th, he qualified. So Andy Fox is having a great race. Greg Otley's having a good race there in 15th. Teemu Toika has just made a move on Eric Mannenveld down the inside of Paddock Hill. Goes down the hill, and now he's going to enter the pursuit of Sam Van Olst in the Goldwing car. So Teemu Toika having a much better race than last week when he was ill. Carl Ridley and Andre Mayerek are also swapping places as they exit the final corner. That's Brandon Hughes behind, having some trading paints issues, the ZFG car there. But Carl Ridley, look at that Andre Mayerek ORD car, looks like a little bit worse for wear. Frog Leap Juiced Racing will be disappointed with the sprint race points haul at the moment. Amundare passing Hughes there on the inside into Druids. Duncan Murray is having a look as well. Brandon Hughes loses, I think, 2 or 3 places there in that one swoop, but he's still there on the inside of Duncan Murray is Brandon. Is he going to keep that position? They're still fighting through there. Duncan goes right out to the grass. They are allowed to do that. Swoops in just in front of Brandon without cutting his nose off. That was very close. John Bailiff, speaking of close, is looking very close to Stephen King. These two seasoned veterans in the car. Stephen King, the runner-up for the last 2 seasons. John Bailiff taking his first genuine win last time out from 2000s from Arthur Thurtle, who's currently in P2. So do not count John out because he's in a good place for the feature race. He is currently starting the feature race on pole position because remember, we reverse the top 12. So Jake Cranston leads the way. Arthur Thurtle, the fastest lap currently goes to Ade Koba, who's getting this tow from the 4 cars in front. Morgan Burkhardt has actually somehow dropped behind. So I wonder if there was an incident with the top 4 because Morgan was with, there was a 5-car train. Can't actually see anything mentioning Morgan up here. So, oh wait, there's Ade Koba passing Morgan Burkhardt. Oh, Morgan looks like he just lost the rear end into turn 1 actually. So we must have just caught that happen. And there goes Koba swooping around the outside. Oh, that was close. Did you see how close the bumper was? Oh, that was good. Good move there from Ade Koba. Spang21 in Twitch says, I support Fat Teemu, who's currently in P8. Closing down. He has closed down on Sam Van Olst. This is what it looks like from on board Teemu Toika's car. If we go to the nose, we can get a bit better view because I think he might be looking to the inside of this next corner. He does move to the inside of this next corner to try and spook Sam Van Olst wide. It's a risky pass in place and you scrub off a little bit of speed. Sam would have practiced that in practice with his teammates for sure. But Teemu pushing the pressure on that Goldwing car in front. Amundere and Majorek down in 27th and 28th, swapping over. 3 laps left of this sprint race, and Jake Cranston still leads the way. The top 4 separated by 0.6 of a second. All 4 cars. That is crazy stuff. But at the moment, we're on top of Teemu Toika's car. This is what it looks like in front. Behind is Erik Manintveld and Dan Downing, who's got Stephen King behind him. As they go into the final corner, I wonder who's going to make a move, if any. Dan Downing actually looks extremely close to Erik Manintveld, so I wonder if this is going to be a move as they head down towards turn 1. Dan Downing on the outside. Who's going to brake later? Is he going to swoop around the outside? Dan Downing of Erik Manintveld. He's going to try his best, but Erik goes right to the outside of the track, closes that door. Ika Lequay and Dan Thornton are fighting it out. Dan Thornton's gone off the track, so Lequay gains a position there. Sebastian Hollmichael's also up into 20th place. How? I tell you what, Dan Thornton is going to be absolutely buzzing with this. I don't know if this is just the big crash. Did these guys slow down for the crash and make it past, or were they already ahead of it? Because Dan Thornton's currently in 19th place, Sebastian Hollmichael 20th, Alejandro Carade is in 21st. There's no way the bottom 15 drivers were involved in that crash. Corpus is down there again. Where is his luck going to change? Because it hasn't changed so far. He was very, very quick in practice before. But this, let's go back to your top 4 fight. Top 4, I said. I mean top 6. Because now, this train is getting closer and closer. I'm not even sure who's going to win. I mean, Jake has led ever since he's I was going to say a very simple thing then. Jake has led this race ever since he's taken the lead, is what I was going to say, which is true. Facts. But is he going to be leading when it gets to the end? Morse was known as the sprint race ninja in previous seasons. He has often stolen a sprint race win when they were only worth half the points back in the day. It's happened. He's happened on the line every time. Is he going to do it again? He has got a car in between him and Jake this time, as Jake defends to the inside all the way, swoops out to the outside to open up turn 1. And then just turns in, hits that apex nicely. He's trying, I don't know if he's just trying to throw people off, whether he's defending, trying to break slipstream, but it's extremely close between this train, and then behind that is another train behind Sam Van Olst. And I think Dan Downing actually is having a look on Erik Manintveld into Druids, and he does get the move done, sends it down the inside, does Dan Downing. Stephen King now on the outside of Erik, and John Bailiff is going to want to try and get some position as well. Stephen King looking for a switchback move on the exit, and I think he's got the overlap. Stephen King, has he got the overlap? I don't think he has any more. And then going down the inside of this corner really narrows your exit, so it's not the best thing to do. He's in the slipstream now as they go up the hill towards the next right-hander, and there's just not enough straight to get fully alongside. The slipstream's normally strong in these cars, but round here, for some reason, not so much, unless you really want to send it on the brakes. And look up ahead, that is Teemu Toika looking at Sam Van Olst again into the right-hander, but he's got to be careful because it's 2v1 at the moment, because Dan Downing is now going to have more of a run as they went slower side by side through that right-hander. Teemu looking to get into the top 7 here. He's currently in P8, and he needs a good race after last time out at Donington. He had an absolute nightmare when he weren't feeling well. Greg Otley's looking very close to Donnie Henriksen as well. There's close fights all over the place. Arthur Thurtle is looking closer than ever to Jake Cranston. Look how close he gets to the final corner. Not quite early enough on the throttle though, because it looks like Jake's got the better exit out the final corner as we approach our final lap. Jake Cranston's going to cross the line. We're going on to lap 8 now of 8. So the final lap is about to begin of this sprint race. And is anything going to happen in this top fight? Henry Morse was having a look down the inside, I think, of Arthur Thurtle, who's got his nose alongside Jake Cranston down towards Druids. Arthur Thurtle sends it down the inside. There's contact with Jake, who slides a little bit wide. Henry Morse is going to try and gain a position as well. Henry Morse goes through. Jake Cranston drops to P3 as Henry swoops into P2. Burkhardt and Cobra are coming together. There's a little rub. Cobra gets pushed out a little bit wide, but Burkhardt continues. They've been warned about pushing people wide, but they've all survived, and the race does continue on. Sam Van Olst is in P7, still holding back. There's someone who spun there. Was that a day Cobra on the grass? I think he broke on the grass there because there was no cars nearby. But Arthur Thurtle has just taken the lead of this sprint race on the last lap. And Henry Morse, ever the opportunist, moves up into P2, but Jake Cranston will not take this lying down. I think the contact was unfortunate, but he was definitely along the inside, was Arthur Thurtle. And now look, Austin Farr is definitely going to want a piece of this action. Is he going to get a double podium for Street Casuals on the sprint race or here at Brands Hatch GP? Arthur Thurtle leading the way. 2 temps, 1 tenth, 2 temps, and then 6 temps back to Burkhardt. It's very close in your top 5, who have broken away from Koba now, who had that little bit spin on the grass. Sam Van Olst isn't quite going to catch them either. Joshua Germany's looking extremely close to Greg Otley back there as well in 16th place. And Ridley and Weisfang are also looking close in 24th and 25th. But we've got our final battle coming round the final corner, and Henry Morse is trying to get a better run out the final corner. Not quite. It's going to be a drag race between Morse and Cranston. Arthur Thurtle's going to take the win. Who's going to get P2? It's Henry Morse P2 with Jake Cranston 200s behind. Austin Farr P4. Morgan Burkhardt in P5. Koba comes home in P6, and the battles continue down the order. Joshua Germany doesn't quite get Greg Otley, finishes P16. Ika Lequay is coming round. He's all by himself, look, 12 seconds back. P18, Dan Thornton. Now let's see if he does a little wiggle across the line. He's just got a P19 to his name. Is he going to celebrate? Not yet, because he's got another race. We've got Sebastian Hallmichael there in P20 as well. He should be happy with that. Derek Crowther in chat on YouTube chat says, go on, Arthur. And I think that's deserved. Alexander van der Velde came home in 21st in the end. The Dutch driver, Caraday 22nd. And then Frogleaf Juice raced in 23rd and 24th. But what a close finish at the end between those top 4, top 5, top 6, whatever you want to call it. Definitely a lot of drivers involved in that earlier crash, which I'd love to see more of, and I'm sure I will see plenty of it during the steward's room. And hopefully we don't see another one in this feature race. So that race was 8 laps long. You would assume the sprint is going to be 16, maybe. I could be wrong. Do you know what? I should know the laps. I typed them all in. But I set it up ages ago, so I don't know the laps. Anyway, it's time for a calm down session, guys. I'm going to have a quick drink. Let's watch Jesus Amundere drive round in his Lurchus Gaming number 19 car. I will get the results up for you now as well so that you can see who finished where in the end of that sprint race. Here we go. So we've got a bit of a break now. About 8 minutes left until the feature race. And Arthur Thurtle takes the sprint race win. His first win in Jetta Cup history. In fact, if I get the stat page up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Arthur Thurtle adds his name. It's now the 12th driver to claim a win. He joins Andy Fox, who's got 1 win. Dan Blake, 1 win. Jameson Huffman, 1 win. Donnie Henriksen has 1 win. John Bailiff now has 2 wins as of last week. Charles Rainford from Season 1 has 2 wins. Jared Kaler has 2 wins. Morgan Burkhardt, last year's title contender, 4 wins. Henry Morse, the 3rd most successful Jetta driver, finishing P2 there with 8 wins. Stephen King, who finished in P11, has 9 wins to his name. And obviously your most successful Jetta driver over the last couple of seasons, Jake Cranston there in P3, has 15 wins in total to his names and 2 championships, 10 pole positions, 29 podiums, and 16 fastest laps. Are we going to see Jake Cranston? Well, look at this. He's meeting his match. It looked like he had the sprint race in the bag. But Arthur Thurtle proving no slouch. And Henry Morse whacking his American flag there in the middle of the podium, separating the Brits. Got Austin Farr and Morgan Burkhardt. It's a Brit-American top 5. You've got the Spaniard Ade Kobo in P6. The Belgian driver Sam Van Olst. Finnish driver in P8. Dutch driver in P10. A varied top 10. Best battle was for P32, says Jerry. Unfortunately, Jerry, I can't say that we had a quick look down there every now and then. But that was actually quite a close race throughout the field. There was no field spread, which we expected here at Brands, because Brands is very much a driver's circuit, so we thought the gaps between people would be bigger than Donington. And boy, was we wrong. Were we wrong? Was we wrong? I'll let you decide on that one. Let's go through the rest of the order. So we said Ade Koba, Sam Van Olst, Timo Toika, Daniel Downing, Eric Manetveld, P10. King and Bailiff are going to be starting on your front row for the feature race, by the way, guys. That is your reverse top 12. Bailiff on pole, Stephen King in second. Eric Vandenvelde will be starting P3, which he was up there before. You got Donny Henriksen, P14, Greg Otley, Josh Germany, Dan Blake, and Ike Lequay in P18. And then let's have a look at the rest of the results down this rest of the page. Dan Thornton, Seb Holmichael, Alexander van der Velde, Alejandro Caraday, Huffman Ridley, Weiswanger, Wallace, Amundere, Murray, Depart, and Hughes. Your top 30. And then your bottom 5 today, Andre Mayerek, Jerry Agard, Stephen Burns, Ray Oliver, and David Corpus there. 52 seconds back in the end. How many cars have ORD scrapped, says Joseph Gibson. This season? Well, I guess we can count those 2 in that one. And I can't remember if there was many crashes for ORD in Donington. I feel like there was. Although Dan Thornton, very much the lead driver today. Look at that, P19. And I'm happy for him. I really am. I'm glad. I like seeing him get a good result. And I hope that he's happy with that. And let's see if he can improve on the next one. Because it can happen. Brandon Hughes in his white 04 skimming kart. Making the photos look tacky. Well, trading paints. We can't blame Brandon for that. Let me know where you're watching from, guys. I can see some regulars. I've got Joe Gibson in chat, Jerry Agard in chat, Andre Mayerek, Derek Crover. Good to see you on YouTube as well. We've got Spang21 in Twitch supporting Fat Timu. Avavoom has been in chat. Who else is out there? Paradise Sport we've seen. Ostap Bender 7. Avavoom, Kakala, Kieran Dempsey popped in. Kakala popped in. And Biggie Morello popped in. Kakala says, I support Fat Timu 46. Is this a meme? Is this a meme that I don't know about? Because this has happened twice now. And loads of people crawled out of the woodwork last week at Donington to say this. Mark Draper on YouTube says hello. Or he says hey. Hey to you, Mark Draper. We've got a couple minutes left. Or 3 minutes left. We could actually fit an interview in. But I don't want to stress them out. I don't want to stress those drivers out. Here supporting Martin. And all of ZFG says tied 3-2-3. Stephen King changing his tyres there. Definitely worth getting a practice pit stop in at this phase of the race. We didn't get to see many Frog Leap juiced cars. They all got involved in that earlier crash. Can't have a Jetta Cup without a lovely shot of some trees. Yep. This is how our brakes go, guys. Let's have a look. Oh, there he is. There he is. That's what we wanted. A nice drone shot. Oh, look at that. Let's get one right. That's the target for the race. Not only have I got to remember to turn the music off for the feature race this time, but we got to get a drone shot of the cars coming through. We have to. Who else is driving around? Can't quite see Ika. He's actually over there somewhere. There he is. Austin Farr is coming through. Let's have a look if we can get an idea of where this drone goes. Yeah, trees, more trees, 2D trees. Goes up towards Druids, just about seeing through the trees. Goes down through it. This is like the opposite of where it should be at all times. Arty tree shots with the car through the trees. That's enough of that. So, who did I miss? Jasper Grieve, easy win for Donny. Ashley, I'm from Bath and supporting Dan Blake. Let's go. Dan Blake had a good race there. Finished in the top 20. And that is nothing to turn your nose at in this championship, to be honest. As long as you're getting points. That's all that matters. Don't forget, Volkswagen Jetta Cup powered by GT Omega will be back next week. We'll be at Zandvoort National, so a slightly shorter layout of the Dutch circuit. Seeing if we can get them to tweet us as well. That's our aim. We're going to try and get all the tracks. Donington didn't tweet us. What? Donington didn't like our tweet. Brands Hatch liked our tweet. Who else out of the circuits of the calendar do you reckon has a social media presence that's going to get involved in this. I'll tell you who hasn't actually got involved, and this is what I need you guys for, actually, chat. And this is for both myself here at the Racing Line YouTube and Twitch, and of course VCO eSports YouTube and Twitch. We need to get iRacing involved more. Look at this beautiful diesel front-wheel drive machine that's being neglected at the moment in terms of damage model updates, because it's still a bit soft on the old meatball flag, and it doesn't have flashing headlights, which I've very much requested for a long time, because flashing headlights, we all know, makes everyone feel better, especially when you're being followed by someone constantly flashing. And that's the one thing that I think this championship is missing, is the old British touring car headlight flash. So get on to iRacing, guys. Get them to watch this. Get them to update this car. Give me my headlight flashes. That's what we want to see. This is our grid then. I've got a minute to roll through this. Bailiff, King, Maninfeld, Downing, Toyka, Van Olst, Kober, Burkhardt, Farr, Cranston, Morse and Thurtle are your top 12 for the feature race. Fox, Henriksen, Otley, Germany, Blake, Lequay, Thornton, Holmichael, your top 20. Alexander van der Velde, Caraday, Huffman, Ridley, Weisfanger, Wallace, Amundere, Murray, Dupart, Brandon Hughes, Andre Mayerek, Agard, Burns, Oliver and David Corpus. That is your 35 drivers for the grid. Now, let's go to the starter cam as the last couple of people line up on the grid. And this is the one, guys. This is the feature race. It's the one they all want to win. It's the pit stop race. Gridding has shown up on my screen, which means they're all ready. The lights are on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and out they go. That was very quick. We got some wheel spin from everyone. John Bailiff and Eric Maninfeld got a great start. Maninfeld is actually alongside Stephen King as all the Jettas come up the hill now towards Paddock Hill Bend. But what is going to happen at the front? It looks like Stephen King's coming under pressure from Maninfeld, but he's got a good exit down the hill through Paddock. Kober is making a move there in the background as well on Toyka. Has to slot in behind as they all come through Druids side by side. They're pretty much 2 by 2. And as we get further down the order, it looks like they're almost going 3 by 3 as they head down, or up, I should say, into that hill. And look how they all go and use that 1X there at the start of the race. And then filter through down towards the long left-hander. It's looking very safe, which is good to see. I wanted to see people survive these races, more so from the crashes that we saw last week, as we see Burkhardt going side by side with Sam Van Olst here down the back straight. I'll tell you what, Burkhardt's got a hell of a run from somewhere, but Kober has shut that line off, so Burkhardt can't make any moves there, and Sam Van Olst is still on the inside. That is Austin Farr behind trying to get through as well, and Jake Cranston currently in P10, Morse in P11 and Thurtle in P12, so no change for that order there. Kober and Burkhardt up 1 places as Sam Van Olst has lost 2, but at your front it all looks the same. Biggest gainer so far, Alexander van der Velde down here somewhere, and Jameson Huffman in P20, both up 3 places. They are the only big gainers so far on this start. Everybody else has either gained 1 or they haven't moved, and the people that have gained 1 have just swapped places with the guys behind them. For example, Dan Blake has passed Joshua Germany at this start. Martin Wallace has passed Jan Weisfanger. Duncan Murray has passed Jesus Amundere. Andre Mayerek has passed Brandon Hughes, and Ray Oliver has passed Stephen Burns. That's what it looks like across your grid. But John Bailiff still very much leads the way out of this 15-lap feature race. Down through Paddock Hill he goes. 4/10 the gap to Stephen King now. Can he pull away in that win it or bin it machine? I think Weisfanger, there's battles going on here. That is Blake and Germany still going at it side by side. Greg Otley is there actually as well. So Blake's trying to go around the outside of Gregory in the ZFG car. But Greg, look at that. Do you see how he swoops from the right to the left? That was a beautiful shot. Love seeing these cars when they have an aggressive change of direction like that. Of course, when there's no crashes involved. And look how that little touch on Dan Blake has absolutely ruined the run for Joshua Journey, because now he's under pressure from Alexander van der Velde, who's going to make a move up the inside. Jameson Huffman is side by side with Ike Lequay behind as well, and Dan Thornton there in 21st. Still holding on, but Van der Velde and Germany side by side all the way down this back straight. They lean on each other. Oh, leaning into the right-hander they go. Joshua Germany looks like he's ahead. Van der Velde tries holding it around the outside. It's tight through there, boys. If you're going to do this all the way through, it's a risky game as they go into the next right-hander, and Joshua Germany leads into that one. I think Alex may have lifted off to back out of it, but is he going to have the inside for the next one? No. Joshua Germany takes P17 from Alex, but cannot claim Dan Blake, who's now further ahead. Austin Farr I believe, has just gained some positions as well. Cranston and Van Olst. Van Olst is being shuffled around here in this area. Look, there he is. He's on the inside of Henry Morse, and the outside line is going to be stronger unless Henry gets a better exit. Well, it all looks like it's neutralized. Jake Cranston looked like he cut across Sam Van Olst's nose there. Ikalakwe and Joshua Germany are fighting. Joshua Germany's actually lost a few places now, so I guess that battle kicked off behind. The top, though, looking very safe. Morgan Burkhardt now up 2 places somehow. Sam Van Olst gets defended on by Jake Cranston with all of his sponsors from his championship wins. Tries to get the better exit, does Sam. Can't quite get anything done. There's nothing doing through there. Down the hill into the left-hander. This is what it looks like from on board these cars. This is what these people are seeing. When there's a train in front of you, all you can see is the big body of the Jetta in front. You've got no idea of what's going on the track. Martin Wallace and Duncan Murray are having a right old ding-dong back here as well. And I think that's Alejandro Caraday involved in this. Duncan Murray on the outside currently of Alejandro Caraday. This is what it looks like from Martin Wallace's car. I think he's going to try and follow Caraday through there. He didn't. But all we can see on the timing screens is that Meatball Motorsport car and the Goldwing car swapping positions left, right and centre. But it looks like Caraday's going to get that move done. He does keep it on Duncan Murray. He's up into 23rd place. Caraday keeps that position. I think Wallace is also going to gain this as well. Over that inside curve, it would have been risky to shut that door. Duncan Murray survives for another day. He's got Sebastian Hallmichael behind. There's the contact. Saves it. Bit of a slide. Goes on the grass. No worries. Carries on. Jameson Huffman and Joshua Germany. Joshua is getting muscled out all sorts of places at the moment. He's now down to 21st place, is Joshua Germany, with Kim and King and Toika in 2nd and 5th. What has happened to Joshua Germany? He was struggling here in practice. I think Brand's not his favourite circuit. He's just struggling. He said he struggles in the fast corners. Oh, don't know why that's come up. Joseph Gibson says music. Well remembered, Joseph. Big shout out to Arthur the Turtle Thurtle. No smoke, no poke. Keep that TDI puffing, says Mark Brown in YouTube chat. What was I saying? I was talking about Joshua Germany struggling in practice. You got Burns and Corpus there in 34th and 35th place side by side. Dupart, Hughes. I think that's Weiswanger and Agard as well side by side. There's battles all over the place. Austin Farr is looking extremely close to Koba and Cranston. That's because he's side by side. Koba's on the inside line into this fast right. I think Koba's worked out who he's racing, because last week it looked like he let Cranston through to follow him. This week it looks like he's defending from Cranston, the 2-time Jetta Cup champion, and that is the right attitude to have, because, well, I'm not saying he's had it easy, because he's definitely deserved the last 2 championships, but it's good to see people fighting him, because that is what he wants just as much as anyone else. And look at Austin Farr, going to try and hold it around the outside and get a switchback here on the exit. He does get a switchback, and now he's on the outside for the next corner, which is more feasible because of the camber of the circuit. Look at that, Austin Farr round the outside of Jake Cranston, and Sam Van Olst is going to make it 3 wide as they head down towards the final corner. He has to back out of it, does Sam. It would have been a silly move, especially if someone spun, but the Street Casuals cars of Farr and Morse 2x2 on the inside of Jake Cranston and Sam Van Olst, heading down towards Paddock Hill now. Down towards Paddock Hill. Jake Cranston on the outside. This is your leaders. That's Bailiff, King, Malinfeld. That was Downing, I think. Burkhardt, Timu Toika, Koba. And look at the fight as they come flying down the hill. We said we needed a drone shot. Shall we give it a go? As we're still seeing cars come through. This is what it looks like, and we've done it. We've nailed the drone shots. Austin Farr has gained that position on Jake Cranston. That battle is now over. Sam Van Olst is still looking to fight it. Jake Cranston slots in between. Henry Morse slots at the back of this group of 4. Down towards the long left-hander they go now. It looks like Jake's got either a slow car or... because he looked like he had a lift off. Maybe he didn't just change gear. It looked like he had a slow exit. Austin Farr must have had a decent exit. Your top 2 looking very much the same. John Bailiff and Stephen King. Is John Bailiff going to do the double and win 2 feature races in a row? Because that'll be impressive, especially for someone who only took his first genuine win. I keep saying it, last time out. Is he going to make it 2 for 2? We're on lap 5. We're 1/3 of the way through this race. And from now, we're allowed to see some pit stops. We've actually got Dan Thornton in the pits already. I wonder if he had a meatball, because I think that might be a lap early for Dan Thornton, who pits on lap 4 going on to lap 5 because he's a nearly lap down. 62 seconds was the pit stop though, so maybe not. Let's test that pit stop button. Did I manage to fix it? No. Is the answer to that, so I will look at that for next week. Anyway, back to the battles at hand, because these guys are still kicking off, and Arthur Thurtle is going around the outside of Austin Farr. Austin Farr and Henry Morse both come into the pits together. Greg Otley and Dan Blake follow. So we've got a load of cars into the pit lane on the first lap of... Kakala says he crashed. Hammer down Dan. There we go. That explains why Dan Thornton was in the pit. So he did have an accident. And look how many people have pit on lap 5. They've absolutely all pulled the trigger straight away in the pit stop window. But who hasn't pitted? It's these guys at the front. John Bailiff and Stephen King are fighting it out. They look like they were side by side on the exit of that corner. We've got Eric Manintveld and Dan Downing, Morgan Burkhardt and Timu Toika. Your top 6 looking very close. Koba actually a little bit further back, but he's past Cranston. Vernals, Thurtle, Fox and Henriksen there, your top 12. Alexander van der Velde has moved up. Now look at the position gains. Duncan Murray's up 12 and Ray Oliver is up 15 places now that people have started pitting. Hammer down Dan. I've forgotten who Joseph Gibson is rooting for. There's plenty of Dans out there. We've got Dan Blake, we've got Dan Thornton, we've got Dan Downing. Which one? Did I forget a Dan? I don't think I did. Couple of Stevens as well. Stephen Burns, Stephen King, Stephen Fry nearly made it to the grid, but then he unfortunately had to pull out last minute. So we nearly had a load of Stevens. But it is what it is. This crash is good replay. Oh, okay. Let's have a look for that then, whilst the pit stop phase starts kicking off. I'll have a quick look at the leaders, and we'll see if we can find Dan Thornton's accident. Why did he end up in the pits? Here it is. Because he was in a good position, was Dan. Oh, it's going to be the grass. Oh, is he going to go in? Oh, no. And his car's stuck. Oh, and he had to escape. That's why he was so far down. Well, that answers that question. This is what it looks like on board. Just 2 wheels on the grass. Does the right thing and keeps he counter steers and accelerates, but the car just into the tyre wall and watches the cars go past. I'm sure Dan Thornton will be thanking Kakala for mentioning looking at a replay of his crash. The only crash I think actually in the feature race so far, but we'll we'll skip past that. He had a good sprint race, did Dan Thornton. Let's see where he can come back to from this. Stephen King very much still chasing down John Bailiff, who's got a little gap to Manintveld. Downing still right behind him. These guys probably not fighting each other too hard. Every little battle that these guys have costs seconds of time on track, and the ones to watch are going to be Henry Morse, who has come out way in front of Austin Farr when they pit at the same time. That's interesting. Let's have a look at these. Let's have a look at the pit lane timers. So Henry Morse had a pit stop of 29 seconds. The next closest pit stop to that was 30.2 by Andy Fox, 30.8 for Austin Farr, 30.1 for Joshua Germany, 30.9, 30.7. I would be worried if I was Henry Morse that I've underfueled that car, because everyone else has been a second longer in the pits. And we have seen Henry Morse make that mistake before. He is the first of the pit stoppers showing up on my timing screen. So he is currently leading this race effectively in this pit stop phase as Patrick Dupart comes into the pits. We've got David Corpus, Alejandro Caraday and Dan Thornton were all in the pits for over a minute. That was twice as long as they needed to. We know why Dan Thornton was in there for that long. Not sure why Corpus and Caraday were in there for that long. Maybe they changed tyres or they've done something really wrong. But your top 5 still separated by tenths of a second. This is exactly the same as the sprint race. Bailiff, King, Manintveld, Downing, Burkhardt and Toika all within tenths of a second as they come round these next few corners. I wonder if we can get another nice drone shot coming through Clark. Where are we? We're nearly on that final corner. I'm going to try and avoid the trees this time as we focus on Bailiff coming around the second to last corner. Let's try it from now, because we should see them appear. There they are, coming over the bridge into the final corner. And look at that, Eric Mannitveld comes into the pits, as does John Bailiff. So Stephen King carries on. Downing, Burkhardt and Toyka carry on as well. Toyka actually looking like he's going to make a move, or is he going to stay behind? I think he might stay behind as they go down towards Paddock Hill. He does actually stay behind. So he's not making moves. They're just focused on this pit stop phase. Any side-by-side battles is going to cost heaps of time. I can't stress it enough. There's 6 laps left of this feature race. And I genuinely don't know who's going to come out where. We said to watch Henry Morse, and John Bailiff, I think, is still in that pit lane currently. Keep an eye on where Bailiff is going to be. Actually, no, he's not. He's actually out. He's way out. How has he done that? 31 seconds. So that must have just been the gap between Bailiff and Henry. So something's gone wrong there for Morse, I think. In terms of time lost, Eric Mannitveld is also ahead. So I don't know if that's just the gaps that they had on track before they went into the pit stop phase. But Eric Mannitveld, who's also pit on lap 8, they're both ahead of Arthur Thurtle, who is ahead of Henry Morse. So the top pit stopper now is John Bailiff, just like last week at Donington. So John Bailiff, out of the pit stoppers, leads this race. Eric Mannitveld is currently in P2, not much further behind. And Arthur Thurtle, who pitted on lap 6, is there in technically P3 right now. Henry Morse pitted on lap 5, who is right behind with an unusually quick stop compared to some of the other guys around. For reference, John Bailiff was 31.2 seconds. Henry Morse was 29 seconds in that pit stop. That's a massive gain by Henry Morse, and yet not so much. As Stephen King, Dan Downing, oh, that's a 4X that wasn't needed. Into the pit lane they go. Clumsy there from the Goldwing driver. Got to be careful not to spin each other here, as they all race into the pit lane. They get stopped. Now, where is John Bailiff? Here he is. Going down. There's already pit exiting there. I think this is going to be quite close. John Bailiff, oh, swoops around the outside. And I think the order stays as it is. It looks very close. It basically looks like it did before. Bailiff swoops round into the lead. Mannitveld joins this train. And King and Toyka's made some gains. He's now up into P3. So I think the winner out of the pit stops there is Teemu Toyka, who now jumps onto the podium and makes it a Pulsar's 2-3. But John Bailiff is still back into the lead of this race, 4 tenths ahead. And behind Teemu Toyka, the debutant Teemu Toyka for Pulsar's eSports is Morgan Burkhardt, seasoned veteran and championship rival to Jake Cranston last season. He was second for most of the season until the last round when Stephen King took second in the championship. We've got Matthias saying go on Blake. Dan Blake is currently P15. He's gained 2 places from the start of the race, and he's doing extremely well today. He'll be happy with this point all. A double midfield finish will definitely be an increase, I think, on the points that he'd already scored in round 1 in that lovely Team 12 looking car. Yeezus and Mundere is having a fight back there somewhere. Is that with Duncan still? Duncan and Yeezus still going at it. Andre Mayerek and Nika Lequay still going at it. Side by side through the right-handers. You've got Martin Wallace ahead. There's a little bit of a door touch. And look at Jerry Agard come flying through. Look at the speed that Jerry's going to have on Andre Mayerek after that touch. He's got a bit of a dented door as the ORD car. And Jerry Agard swoops around the outside. Oh, he hasn't quite got the position done yet. This is the most dangerous one to be side by side for. Oh, do you know what? It wasn't actually as close as I thought it was going to be through there. They're still side by side into the next left-hander. How long is this battle going to continue on for? This is for 23rd and 24th place. And I'm just keeping an eye on Burkhardt's delta as well, as he's within a tenth and a half of Teemu Toyka. But these guys are still fighting, still swapping places. Andre Mayerek on the inside. Ray Oliver, is he going to get a free wide switchback? Ray Oliver's on the inside of both of them. They're free wide down the back straight. Ray Oliver's going to gain 2 positions at once if he can do the move on the brakes into turn 1. I think he's got Andre. Can he get Jerry as well? Down towards the apex he goes. He uses a bit of the curb, and Andre's going to get a switchback on Ray. It's a brilliant freeway fight between Masters of Torque, Frogley Juiced Racing, and ORD. What a mouthful that team name is. Oh, pinches Andre Mayerek there to the inside. But we have to have a look up here because Dan Downing has just made a move on Morgan Burkhardt. They're side by side for P4, and that battle is now going to continue. Now watch how much time these guys lose to Teemu Toika if this fight continues through this next right-hander. Arthur Thurtle may even close this gap. He's 3.7s back at the moment as Otley and Huffman are going at it. Van der Velde and Germany are going at it back there as well in P20. But Downing didn't quite get the move done on Burkhardt. Mannenfeld slots in behind. Van der Velde and Germany still swapping over as well. So these two must be side by side all the way around. That is Kyle Ridley in front of Josh. I think he's going to have a look up the inside. That's going to be dangerous if he does. He's still got a Project Dynamic car on his left. You can just about see it. In fact, this will be a better view of the number 4 car. Look at that. Alexander Van der Velde swoops in front, and that move is now over. So Josh slots in behind in P20. Good little shot of his front-wheel drive car there. Doesn't use much curve on that inside. Has he got anyone behind him? No. Fairly safe is Joshua Germany right now. Kyle Ridley is looking to make moves on Greg Otley, though, whilst being put under pressure. He's actually side by side with Greg on the final corner. So he's gone around the outside, has the frog leap car of Kyle Ridley, and now they head down towards turn 1, the dangerous Paddock Hill bend. Carl's going to have to be later on the brakes. Looks like they brake pretty much at the same time. Greg holds his inside line. Kyle Ridley down the hill. Greg Otley still on the inside. Who's going to brake later into the hairpin? I think Greg's actually kept his car there, and the battle continues. Oh, a bit of a touch there on the exit. I think Carl's going to go a bit wide, keeps it on the track, and then the battle continues going down the hill. Greg Otley round the outside. This one gets pretty tight on exit. There was the nudge. Van der Velde now is going to have a look at making a move, as is Joshua Germany, who I think is going to pick Greg as a guy to follow instead of Alex. And then Kyle, I think, loses the rear end as he chucks it into that left-hander. Alexander Van der Velde trying to make moves. There's just no room. There's no room for this little four-way fight. The cars are going 2 by 2 down this back straight. There's more contact there. That was unnecessary. Alex loves a squeeze, does Van der Velde. Greg Otley, though, having none of it, still on the inside. And Van der Velde looks around the outside of Kyle Ridley. Oh, there's touch. That's Greg Otley. They go towards the wall. Kyle Ridley's in the wall. Greg Otley's in the wall. They're both going to lose positions. It was always going to happen with that. Oh, look at the reactions from Greg there. And is that Martin Wallace going to come through and get both of them? They're free wide, Martin Wallace. Oh, he gets both positions. Martin Wallace for ZFG up into P19. Joshua Germany taking advantage. Alexander Van der Velde taking advantage. Let's have another quick look at what just happened. So we saw them come through here. This is Greg Otley's car. Kyle's car understeered a little bit off the curb, and then this position opened up for Greg. I think this is just... I mean, on first watch, I think this is a clumsy racing incident. It was the initial bounce off the curb into Alex's car. Kyle keeping his steering to the right to close the door for Greg, who'd already seen the opportunity for that space. That's going to be a tough one to call. I'm hoping they were enjoying that fight, though, because it was definitely fun to watch. And then watch this. Greg Otley's back on track immediately. Kyle Ridley right in front of him. Greg Otley slams the brakes. And then Martin Wallace slots through the middle of them. There's Greg. There's Kyle. 2 positions in 1 for Martin Wallace, team leader of ZFG. Let's go back live, though, and see what's going on in the world of the Jetta Cup, because Dan Downing's looking very close to Teemu Toika on the back section of the circuit. Your top 5 breaking away from the rest of the train. Arthur Thurtle, your sprint race winner, is actually 4.6 seconds back. With we should have been watching this a little bit more, actually, because I feel like he's been holding off Jake Cranston for the last 13 laps. And absolutely not buckling under the pressure. He's got Henry Morse behind him and Koba as well. So Arthur Thurtle is really got the big boys behind him, as it were. He's got Austin Farr and Sam Van Olst there as well. And I think he's got a slowdown. Arthur Thurtle does have a slowdown, and through goes Cranston, Morse and Koba. How many more people are going to get that? Oh, he goes into the pits. Is that a drive-through for Arthur Thurtle, or has he underfueled? Arthur Thurtle's pit stop. Oh, it's got rid of his old pit stop time, so I can't see it. I think... Well, we'll find out. But this is a disaster. Thurtle underfueled, says Kakala. It's true. So Thurtle has made a mistake in the pit stops. He's changing tyres as well, and that is going to cost him heaps of time. Down goes the order. Does Arthur Thurtle sprint race winner? Oh my God. Sprint race winner. Arthur Thurtle changes 2 of his tyres and refuels. He forgot to uncheck him, and now he's in 30th, 31st place. Project Dynamic points going down. That's going to keep the team's championship alive. Burkhard, though, for Project Dynamic, is still in P3 with King and Bailiff still leading the way. Lap 14 of 15. We've only got 2 laps to go, and your leaders are still this close. Cranston is not going to close that 4-second gap in this time. If he does, we'll be immensely impressed. Valdez31 says, what a blunder. And I know, if I know Valdez, who has watched the Jetta Cup quite regularly, he'll be giggling to himself, as that is very much a Lurchus mistake to make. Which I want to say that we haven't seen Lurchus do, but if I'm honest, I think Jesus did it last week and it went under the radar. We didn't really notice it. As Ray Oliver and Jerry Agard are side by side, really fighting it out down here for 22nd and 23rd place. Andre Mayerek's going to try and come through as well. This track has had constant fighting, no matter where everyone is. John Bailiff, though, who's going to come under pressure here? I wonder. Morgan's not going to settle for P3 here. He's 5 places up. But if he was smart, this is the white flag lap. So, well, now's the time to make a move. But I don't know if I think Stephen's going to defend for that P2. He's going to want that P2 more than the win, I think. But then again, John Bailiff is... Oh, look how close that was. Morgan Burkhardt looking down the inside of Stephen King. And Dan Downing is going to come around the outside of Timu Toiko as they go down the hill now. Dan Downing down the hill, down the inside of Timu Toika up into P4. They're going to be close on exit. He has to let Timu back on the circuit. It's going to... Oh, my God. You got us some votes. That is a great call for Biggie Morello. Thanks for the reminder. You can see it on the side of your screens there. Voting for your driver of the day is now open. Well, you don't want that. That's not the link for that. So let me just copy and paste that again for you. To vote for driver of the day, you need to click on that link and click anyone you think deserves it. We're not sure who's going to win. Well, we are sure who's going to win this one. I think it looks like it's John Bailiff, as Stephen King is defending for all he's worth on Morgan Burkhardt here for P2. That looks fairly feisty from Stephen as they entered that fast right-hander. He's really putting up the fight for this. There is one channel that link hasn't gone through. It's one of the Twitch channels. I'm not sure which one that's had an error, but the other 3 channels does have the driver of the day link. But Stephen King under pressure from Morgan Burkhardt here. John Bailiff 1 second in the lead. I think it's a done deal. Has Stephen got a slowdown? I hope not. I think Timu Toika has also dropped down the order. Oh, look at this. Bumping. But your winner for the feature race, 15 laps in. We're coming to the final lap. Here we go. Across the line. John Bailiff squiggles. He gets another win. Stephen King takes P2. Morgan Burkhardt P3. Dan Downing gets P4. Eric Mannintveld for Street Casuals takes P5 from Timu Toika. And Jake Cranston, Henry Morse, Ade Cobra and Austin Farr round off your top 10. But John Bailiff, that's 2 wins on the trot. So TRL Racing Line Twitch didn't get the vote for driver of the day. Let's try it again and see if it goes through. But anyone that did, of course, just there you go. It should have gone through that time. John Bailiff, 2 feature race wins on the bounce. Arthur Thurtle from hero to zero. Let's have a look. I want to see how, because Timu Toika got passed again by Eric Mannintveld. Let's have a quick look at that. Oh, it was on the inside going down towards the final corner. I wonder if Toika had a slowdown. Not sure. Joseph Gibson says, well done, John. Great drive. And it really was. Look at him wiggle across the line in excitement. He's only gone and done it again. This could be his season. We said it last season and the pressure might have got to him because it didn't come to fruition. But John Bailiff was leading the championship coming into this round by 2 points. I have a feeling he might be leading it still, exiting this round for Win It or Bin It Racing, and win it he has. Jonathan Bailiff. Good results throughout. People will be happier with that. I'm happier with that. I'm hoping that there's less stewards' inquiries this time round. But then again, there was so many fights going on, we don't fully know what was happening across the field. There would have been stuff going on down the back for sure that we missed. I can't see any highlighted crashes, which is good. There was a lot more red on the screens last time. Should we just pick a random overtake? Let's have a look at this one. Eric Manningveld passes Ray Oliver for P9. Oh, in the pits. Terrible. John Bailiff passes Morgan Burkhardt for P3. That'll be a pit lane pass as well. This is when Jonathan Bailiff comes down the main straight to retake the lead. And there is everyone else. It was a mirror image of Donington. He'd done it last time. He's done it again. Pit stop king Jonathan Bailiff. I wouldn't be surprised if we see people mirroring his strategy next time out. Arthur Thurtle had the pit stop, dropped down the order. That's why all of these have come up saying Arthur Thurtle got passed. I can't see any crashes, so it's going to go straight through to interview time, I think. But first, before we do that, I'll check the drive of the day results in a second, but we need to have a look at the full race results. So here we go then. Round 2 of the Volkswagen Jetta Cup, powered by GT Omega in partnership with VCO eSports. Thank you all for watching across all 4 channels, of course, wherever you're watching, and for jumping in chat to say hello. And if you haven't said hello before, then feel free to do it, and I will, I'll say hello. It's good to see you. I'll remember names. I remember people who have been here for a while. Valdez31, for example, has been quiet the last few races, but has definitely been here for the last couple of seasons. Jonathan Bailiff, 1.2 seconds in the lead in the end from Stephen King, Morgan Burkhardt, Dan Downing, Eric Manningveld, Timu Toika, Jake Cranston, Henry Morse, Ade Kober, and Austin Farr, your top 10. Samuel Van Olst finishes in P11. Andy Fox, Donny Henriksen, Dan Blake, Huffman, Van der Velde, Germany, and Wallace round off your top 18. Wallace getting to 18th in the end. He would be happy with that, I'm sure. Kyle Ridley, P19, Ika Lequay, Ray Oliver, Agard, Mayerek, Murray, Burns, and Amundare, Otley, Dupart, Thurtle, and Hughes in P30. Thurtle down in 29th in the end. Oh, that's going to hurt. Sebastian Holmichael, Jan Weisfanger, David Corpus, Carraday, and Thornton rounding off your 35 drivers. We saw what happened to Thornton. He ate the pit wall. Didn't see what happened to Corpus and Carraday, who were only 5 seconds ahead of Thornton by the looks of it. Weisfanger, who had a strong showing in the sprint race, down in 31st this time round. So I wonder if what happened to him. But he had a good sprint race down the order in the feature. But points are points. The whole grid gets those points. So we'll see next time out at Zandvoort who is where in terms of the championship. Interview time. Let's get those. Let's see who's in the interview waiting room. Let's play. We can't forget the interview logo. And what else? Let's have a look for driver of the day. Let's announce that now, just in case we speak to them and I forget to tell them like I did last time, because I spoke to John first, who had driver of the day. Oh, you need to vote more, guys. It is a 4-way tie for driver of the day. I'm not going to say who the 4-way tie is, although I'm pretty sure you can do it. Let's see who's voted for who. I can see Joseph Gibson, who Joseph Gibson has voted for. I can see who Biggie has voted for. I can see who Tide has voted for. And I can see who Liz has voted for. So who else is going to vote? Oh, we've got another vote coming in. And that's still, now it's a 5-way tie. Well done, whoever that was that just voted. It's not coming up yet who that was, but now we've got a 5-way tie. So I'm going to let those votes tick over a bit longer. Driver of the day votes. Scroll up in chat if you can't see it anymore. Doc Apex voted. Amazing Corpus pit stop, says for Guelthio. So need more votes. At the moment, it's a 5-way tie for driver of the day. Just in case you forgot. Let's where is my driver of the day sticker? It's gone. Vanished. Ah, well, doesn't matter. Let's get someone into chat. Discord, where are you? Let's speak to our sprint race winner, Arthur Thurtle, who's mid-conversation before I pulled him into the comms box with Morgan Burkhardt. Project Dynamic driver, debut driver, Arthur Thurtle. 2 thousandths away, 3 thousandths away from a win last week. obviously a post-race penalty dropped to only P3 actually, and 5-second penalty to drop to P3 is actually very, very convenient compared to some of the damage done to other people.
I made sure there was a big gap behind me.
Yeah, that's right. But you haven't had to wait long to be up there again. So a sprint race win, Arthur. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. This is my local track, so this was the whole season. This was the one that I wanted to win the most.
Well, there you go. You've checked it off. You don't have to win again.
That's it.
That's it. Why would you bother? Of course, we're going to see you up there again. I've forgotten. This is really bad of me. Who got pole position?
Me.
It was you. So you've got a pole position point as well as your race win. And then we got to talk about it. We can't ignore it. Of course, celebrate the positives here. A race win on your second race in the Jetta Cup, and this field. You've got to agree is strong out there, and it's great to see you putting up a fight with some of the regulars as well. But the feature race, and this is maybe where experience comes into it, or maybe it was just a mistake. Piled on with another mistake. From what we saw, we thought it was a drive-through at first, and then we see you stop. And that means the dreaded under-fuel curse has happened to Mr. Thurtle. And then we saw the car lift up. And then we know that it's all gone wrong. Because we don't change tyres. Tell us when you noticed. Did you notice as you stopped or later in the race?
Well, just like I first learnt a lesson in the qualification race weeks ago, where I had crew chief on and I had him set to add one extra lap of fuel. Well, in the jet, my crew chief added gallons, and that took me from being right behind Morgan back to about 18th. And so I turned it off. And then last week, I just added the set 3.9, which I think was probably how I ended up coming out so far behind John. So this week, I got told, oh yeah, you just click the button when you're fueling. And I didn't look at how much had been added. I looked at how much was in the car total. So I saw 3.1, and Alex has said, yeah, 3 litres is enough. So I saw 3.1, clicked to end the fuel, and I hadn't added enough. And then when I came into the pits, I ended up adding loads of fuel, and then the car went up, and I was changing tyres, and it was disaster, really.
It's a team meltdown by the sounds of it. It's a miscommunication on fuel with your engineer.
My lack of experience on the pit stops. I've never done races that require a pit stop before and adding fuel, so that's what I'm putting it down to.
Well, it's still. I mean, as much as the points might feel like they sting from that feature race, but you've also gained a hell of a lot of points in the sprint. So damage limitation, I think, was done early from the mistake that we didn't know what was going to happen. We're over to Zandvoort next week. Is that a track that you've raced at before?
Never raced it before.
Well, it's not even the GP layout, and to be honest, I don't think I've raced the layout that we're racing. It's like a cut in half version with a hairpin in the middle. So it's going to be interesting. So you haven't raced it. Do you know anything about Zandvoort? I mean, we've got a couple of Dutch drivers on the grid. I wonder if they're going to step up their game. Eric Mannenveld finished P5. Did you have any run-ins with Eric today?
No, I don't think so. I think he was at the back of the pack before I'd realised that I'd underfueled. I think he was at the back of the lead pack that I was trying to catch. Yeah, but I've only seen it on Formula One, so it'll be good fun to race it, I'm sure.
That's right. Well, it's been great to speak to you again so quickly, and I'm sure we'll potentially see you up here again, if not next week, then at some point throughout the season. But is there anyone, before I let you go, that you want to say hello or thank you to?
I'll say a big thank you to Morgan. He gave me the tow in qualifying.
Oh, there you go. Thank Morgan for that 1 point, that little 1 point barrier.
Yeah, that's it.
No worries. Thank you, Arthur. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Put him back with Morgan in the. Oh, he left him. He's left Morgan in there by himself. We need to speak to John. Morgan is in there. Why would we speak to Morgan Burkhardt, people? What happened? Because so much goes on. Morgan Burkhardt got P3 in that final race. Where did he finish in the sprint? P5. So he's had a good day. That's a big points haul for Morgan. So had Henry Morse there in P2. Where did Henry Morse finish in this one? P8. Stephen King P2. P11. So it's a real mixed bag in double results here. Jake Cranston P3. P7. Timu Toika P6. and P8. Oh my god. Austin Farr, P4. And P10. So Morgan Burkhardt actually probably is the better of the double resulters there with a P3 and a P5. So we will speak to Morgan because I don't know if did we speak to him last time? I think we spoke to him last time out anyway, but we'll bring Morgan Burkhardt into the comms box anyway for our second of 3 interviews because he got a P5 in the sprint race and a P3 in the feature race. So it's another podium to your name, Morgan. And, well, you've got the pace. I think you may have scored the most points of anyone today, even with some of the drivers getting wins. So that's got to be a bonus, right? You've closed that gap.
Yeah, I think it was a good day. And I looked at the provisional standings, and it's now 14 points covering the top 5 or something like that. So it's very close right now. And this was going to be a difficult one to pull 2 solid results because it's just so difficult to pass. And I was in qualifying on my last lap. I crossed the line, did a 39.505, and it ticked over right before I went across the line. Like it registered the time, but it didn't count it, so I ended up starting 7th. And that was a bit of a worry, but ended up okay.
Well, that's all right. Well, I think, yeah, no, genuinely, P3 and P5 round here, it's such a difficult track to overtake on as well. And in terms of fighting, the more you fight with one person, the more time you lose to everyone else ahead. So it's one of those where I think P3 and P5 was definitely a strong result. It's a shame about what happened to Arthur. I'm guessing Arthur is in that top 5 as well, which means Project Dynamic are in a very solid position as a team. But I mean, you had before this race, I believe you had 13 podiums to your name. You now got 14, so you're creeping up closer to Henry Morse. I think is next on your target list, who's got 17. But we need some more wins, Morgan. When are the wins going to come? When do you reckon? What are you eyeing up for your? Well, you've got a whole American leg coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Is that where you're going to run away with it?
Well, I'm hoping from Zandvoort to Oren, it's just going to be wins. That's the
all
plan.
The way, just
all the way.
Target round 3 to the end. Let's go. Wins all the way. Well, that's. I mean, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And even if you're consistently, I mean, we saw this quite commonly in the RLTC as well, which was obviously just as strong as this. That consistent results sometimes are better than a win and then a win and a midfield result. So, I mean, if you keep putting in 3rds and 5ths, for example, with no wins, I'm sure you'll be up there, depending on where John's finishing, because he looks like he's on form this season.
Yeah, and I think with the reverse grid, it is obviously a bit difficult, and John finishing, top 10, P8, P9, and then getting up in the front in the feature and being able to run away for it is working for him so far. But I'm thinking once we get to more open tracks like Zandvoort, it'll be interesting as Zandvoort. I've never driven that configuration, but the whole American leg with Lime Rock, Summit, Laguna, and Long Beach, I've historically been pretty good there. And Twin Ring and Okayama, they're all right. It's more like this track. I don't like them, but I don't hate them. And then Oran Park that's one of my favorite tracks. So
that's
looking
right.
forward to that one for sure.
No worries, Morgan. As usual, it's great. It was great to hear from you, and well done again on your points haul. So, is there anyone you want to say hello or thank you to before I let you go?
I'd like to thank my parents for supporting me and making all of this possible and providing all the equipment necessary, and my grandparents as well, and Barbara Wallace, the whole team at Project Dynamic, Jill, Arthur, and Alex. I forgot his name there.
Nearly forgot. Nearly.
Oh, that would have been bad. But yeah, thanking all of them for helping me out and in qualifying and towing and all that kind of thing. So big thank you to them.
No worries. Thank you, Morgan. Speak to you soon.
Yep.
Always, such a polite lad is Morgan Burkhardt. He's so quick. Doesn't matter where we take this car. He's always so quick. He has stressful races. He has good races. I mean, these things are. I don't want to say they're easy to drive, because they are easy to drive, but they're not easy to drive quick all the time. And Morgan extracts pace out of this car. He has tough fights, and he comes in here all chilled. And he never forgets to thank his parents. Never forgets. Every podium interview, I'm sure, like to thank my parents, grandparents. Grateful. is Morgan Burkhardt. And that leads us on to our final interview of the day. It's now triple race winner, 2 in a row for feature race wins, Jonathan About Time Bailiff. So, well, here you are once again. Here we are again on the podium. Come on, John. Tell us how you're feeling.
I'm happy about that one. Not the best start to the day, but then starting pole on the reverse grid, I knew it was going to be difficult to overtake. We'd seen like in practice that obviously going side by side you just lose seconds, so it was just about keeping it on the track and not dying, because there's a few corners where you're right on the edge if you push it. So
yeah, so there's obviously always been question marks about the potential strategy, and I don't think this was done on purpose. It was just genuinely a difficult track to pass on this week. But there's always been questions over whether it's worth finishing around that 12th mark to gain an advantage in the feature race. And I think it was more of a question last season when the sprint race was worth half the points, the feature race was worth double. This season, both races are worth the same amount of points. Would you have rather, the question is, John, really, would you rather finish around 6th and 4th in both races, or would you rather 12th and 1st? What do you think is going to be the long play here?
I mean, I think there's two ways looking at it. Sort of from the glory standpoint, you go the 12 and the 1st. But I think ideally I was just aiming for a couple of top 5s, but didn't quite happen in the first race. Made a silly mistake, and then just sort of got shuffled out a little bit. But
yeah, I haven't quite looked at the maths of the points just yet. I don't know if you've managed to have a look, but obviously with the win, I assumed that you were still leading the championship. But then again, I think with Morgan finishing 3rd and 5th, he would have closed that gap. And I can't remember how far back he was, because I think he had quite a bad run in round 1 in the second race. So I know it's fairly close between the top 5, because Morgan mentioned it. But have you had a look at if you're still leading the championship provisionally?
Yeah, so it looks like I've gained 1 point on Jake, I think. And then I think lost 4 points to Morgan, so still at the top.
Still at
for the time being. But
oh, that's nothing really, is it? There's minimal point damage.
I mean, it's so close this season. I can't see it having someone walk away.
Well, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. And I mean, we say it often enough as kind of a joke, but also not as a joke. But Jake Cranston is really being fought this season, left, right, and centre. People are not. And I always say this and think that people think that he had it easy in the last 2 seasons. He didn't have it easy, and he did have to fight for them. He did dominate at times, but through skill, not luck. But now, all of a sudden, this season, with a new crop of drivers, people, I don't know whether they're just putting in more practice, whether they got more used to the car. He's really getting like muscled into by some of the drivers here. And I'll be honest, I saw in practice, I don't know how you felt, but in practice, he was one of the first, as was Morgan, as usual. Those two shot to the top of the timing screens. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. They've both woken up. They've realised that people are quick. They're going to start putting in loads of practice, which we know they do at times. And then here comes the dominance. But the race didn't end up going that way again, which was quite nice. It's actually, is it going to be a John Bailiff dominant season? Are we just going to keep seeing this win it or bin it car in the feature races?
I mean, it'd be nice, but I'd be surprised. I mean, I can see sort of people battling for the championship and then ending up down in 5th because there's just so many people fighting for it.
Yeah, it does look like I think that's twice now where we've had like a top 6, and they're different drivers as well. So I think it just depends on race situation rather than driver. But we've had like a top 6 breakaway in both times. And that for whatever reason, those top 6 tend to sit in a train and then make their moves wisely. And whoever's in 7th place is just defending for their life and keeping everyone else behind. So that's why it ends up that way. But we're going to Zandvoort next, which I don't think many of us have actually driven before in this car from memory, if at all. Especially not this weird little half layout that we're going to. How are you feeling going into it? Are you feeling confident, or are you going to wait until practice to see how that goes?
Well, I better do some laps first, because I think I drove the full layout in the Kia and the ROTC last time, but I don't know the layout, so we'll have to wait and see.
No, fair enough. Me neither. As usual, John, well done. Obviously, another win to your name. That's 3 now in total. 2 of them on track, and this one uncontested. A 1-second lead.
Actual real wins.
Yeah, real ones. Is there anyone you want to say hello or thank you to before I let you go?
Well, I think this time I better say thank you to the guys in the team because I forgot them last time. So shout out to Andy and Stephen. It's been a really good start to the season, good teamwork, and I think once we get things together in quali and all have good races, we should do well in the teams hopefully. So thanks to them for their support.
No worries, John. Thank you. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Jack.
John Bailiff there with another win. Crazy. Some drivers, though, will be... Well, they were out of position in that race. We've had a couple of chats as well. What have I missed here? Jerry, 1984, says #Thurtle. Let's listen to that new mic of John's. John's enjoying all the luck this season. Andre saying that it's all luck. Let's have a quick look at that drive of the day. What has happened here? This is interesting. And I'm not sure whether these are serious votes or not, but it is a voting system. This is what happens when you've got a democracy. Just like when Max Verstappen used to win driver of the day all the time. It appears that, although I don't think I'm going to count Sam Van Alst's vote in this, so that does make it a draw between 2 drivers. This is tough. Oh, we'll give it to him anyway. It's the only reason I don't want to give it to him is because I don't remember seeing him that much. But he did definitely have some hard races. It's Duncan Murray is your driver of the day today. He got 3 votes to the rest of the drivers. And, well, one of those votes was his teammate, which is a little bit cheeky. But we just need more of you to vote. Dan Blake, Morgan Burkhard, Corpus, Thornton, Wallace, Toyker and Bailiff also got votes. So there was a lot of drivers there gaining some votes for the driver of the day, but Duncan Murray ending up being today's underdog, getting the Max Verstappen award, shall we say. That's pretty much it from me, from us here at the Racing Line and VCO eSports. Thank you all for joining us once again, people. All of you across all 4 channels means a great deal. Hope you enjoyed the racing, and we'll see you next week, same time, for Zandvoort National. Zandvoort, I think it's the national layout. It's got some sort of hairpin. It just says Zandvoort on there. 3rd of October. That's next week, Monday, same time. If I don't see you on track this week, then I'll see you next week for the next video here on the Racing Line. Peace.